Hi everybody, this is Scott Sharp with Fretboard Toolbox, and there's about 5 or 6 different scales that people talk about a lot. Major scales, major pentatonic scales, natural minor, minor pentatonic, blues, and then blues with a flatted fifth. And but I never really had a way to see those scales, and so I want to show you how to be able to see any of those 6 scales in any key, all up and down the fretboard. So let's take a look and I'll show you how it works. Okay, today we're using a Fretboard Toolbox Complete Ukulele C Tuning ebook. And what we have here are major keys in blue, and depending on how you count, there's 12 or 14 major keys. And then we've got blues keys for all those, and then we've got the relative minor keys for all those. And so if I want to be able to see, let's say, the key of G major, I want to see where's my major scale notes. And then I can come over here. This is called the chord jig. It's got tons of cool stuff like which chords sound good together and which notes build the chords, but I've got lots of videos on those. And let's skip just to the scales today. These are chord progressions, though, that you could use these major or major pentatonic scales with, so keep that in mind. And then here is the meat of it. So we've got the G major scale notes are all the notes in white boxes. So anything here that's in white boxes is G major. Today I'm using a low G, so if you hear that low G sound, that's why, because it lets me get a little bit more soloing going down on the low string too. So let's say if I wanted to play from this G to this G using major scale notes, I just want to use notes in white boxes, I could play that like this. Here's G, A, B, C, and for C I could go to the 5th fret here or open, but I went G, A, B, C. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And then I could continue up. And so I'm just using all those notes in white boxes to play the G major scale. I can find those all up and down the fretboard. And if I want to play the major pentatonic scale, I'm going to use just the underlined notes. So the whole major scale from G to G here is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, but only 5 of those are underlined. G, A, B, skip the C, D, E, skip the F sharp, back to G. And so if I want to play the G major pentatonic, anything that's underlined here is going to sound good. So if I just messed around with D, E, G, A, B, D right here, we could play. And you can just kind of improvise with it and see what happens when you just mess around with those notes that are in the key. So I'd pause there if you're interested and goof around with some of those notes and try the major pentatonic or major scales and see how that works. If I want to try some different keys for that, I can click on the page number, which is a little secret about my interactive ebooks, or you could click table of contents up at the top. And it'll take you back to the table of contents here. If I want to see all that same stuff for the key of C, I click on C, chords that sound good, notes that build the chords, cool chord progressions, and now all the notes in white boxes are my C major scale notes, and all the underlined notes are C major pentatonic. So you could pause that out and try that too if you wanted. If I want to see blues scales, I can click on G blues, or any of the blues keys, but I can click on blues. These are chords that sound good here and notes that build the chords, cool chord progressions. And then now anything in white boxes are the G major pentatonic notes. I'm sorry, G minor pentatonic. Anything in white boxes is the G minor pentatonic scale, which is like a G blues scale. So listen to how much darker that blues scale sounds. Oops. So that's just messing around with those notes in white boxes. When I hit one that was wrong, that wasn't part of the scale, you could hear that. I think it was this B that I hit, so it just sounded a little bit off because it wasn't going with the flow of the blues stuff I had doing. I was playing there the minor pentatonic. And so then if you ever hear about a flatted fifth note, there's I show it with an asterisk here. The reason it's called a flatted fifth is in the key of G, G's your one note, A's your two, which is not in the blues key. B flat's called the flat three. That's a bluesy note. The three note is a B. That's not bluesy, but it's part of the major scale. This one, C, is bluesy and major scale. The flat five is bluesy, and the five is blues and major. Okay, so it's called a flat five because in the key of G, the fifth note's a D, so the flat five's a D flat. And then the six is E, which is major scale. The flat seven is bluesy, and then the real seven is major scale. So the bluesy notes are the flat third, the flat fifth, and the flat seventh, because those are outside of the key. So if I want to add that flatted fifth note, I can just start seeing where can I add this little asterisk in here. So there's that flat third. I'm sorry, flat fifth. So flat 5, 4, flat 3, 1, flat 7, 5, flat 5, 4, flat 3, 1. So bending on that C sounds pretty cool because if I bend it up a half step, I'm on a bluesy note. If I bend it up a whole step, I'm still on a bluesy note. I'm just on the 5 instead of the flat 5. So in the key of G, that can have a good sound. All right, so that's the G bluesy stuff. If I want to see any other blues key, I can just click on those and mess around with those. If I want to see relative minors, each major scale has a relative minor. So if I want to see the E relative minor key, I can click on E minor. It's going to be the same chords that sound good, but they just get a different Roman numeral that tells you like what's the 1 chord or the 4 chord or the 5 in the key of E minor. It's got a different box around the root. Different chord progressions sound good, but they still use the same basic chords as the G major key, as the relative major. So that's kind of a cool trick. And then now my root notes become these, the E's, and then my E natural minor scales, all the white boxes, and the E minor pentatonic is the underline notes. So if I want to play E natural minor, listen to how using those same notes from the key of G major but starting and stopping on the E totally changes the feel. Oops. So there's E, D, C, B, A, G, F sharp, E. Okay, so then like just treating that E as the root already just has such a darker sound. That's an E minor chord. So it's fun to play around with those scales and especially if you can play around with them while someone's playing these backing tracks. And so what I did for that is I set up on the website, on the Toolbox website, if you go to Tracks and Tab and click on 200 free jam tracks, you can hear me playing through those chord progressions in a whole bunch of different keys, common keys like G major, A major, C major, D major, E major, and F major. So I can click on these boxes here if I want to have if I want to hear these backing tracks. It'll tell you which scales to try and mess around with, which pages of Fretboard Toolbox books to use, and then there's me playing through these tracks at several different speeds. So if you want to hear G D G and then try to solo along with it or strum along with it, you just hit play and then it'll tell you the chords to use and then, like I said, the toolbox pages to use to see how that works. So I hope you found something useful today. If you're interested in picking up your own toolbox, you can go to the Toolbox website, go to pick your instrument, click on whatever instrument you want here. I've got a whole bunch. And then today we were using the complete editions, which have all the keys. And if you're curious about the difference between complete and essential editions, just click this spot up here. But the main thing is, if you want to download some free pages for either of those editions or both, just click on Look Inside and you can download all the instructions plus the key of G major pages all for free and see if you find it useful. And if you do, you can pick one up, and if you don't, you're not out anything. So thanks for taking a look, and I'll be back with lots more videos on lots more instruments.